Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. If you guys are new here, welcome. Today we're going to dupe Lunar Beauty's the newest palette in the market, and that is Eternal Eclipse palette. And this is a very neutral blue tone, gray toned eyeshadow palette. So we're going to dupe as close as possible, and I'm going to check Manny's swatches and Lunar Beauty's swatches on their website, and I'm going to try to dupe them. So without further ado, let's dive right into the video. So these are the palettes in front of us, which I'm planning on using. Let's see which one we'll use and which one we'll not. So the first shade is called Flare, which is described as an icy peach shade with reflect gold glitter. So as per the swatches, I feel Stranded from Urban Decay's Born to Run palette, Soleil from AB8's Jackie Aina palette, and Colourpop's Ringer are all similar to each other, and I think any of them would work. I'm just giving you options, but I am going to swatch Stranded. So that would be a dupe for Flare. I'll give you the swatches in like outside light too. So the next shade is called Adamantium, which is a true silver metallic, and I basically have one shade that pops up to my mind, and that is Yamoha from the Magic Mini palette from Juvia's Place, and that would be a dupe for Adamantium. The next shade in the palette is called Meteor, which is a glitter topper with blue, pink and gold reflect glitter. I personally do not have that shade with me, but I think the closest thing that would come close to that shade would be Essence's Melted Chrome eyeshadow in the shade Warm Bronze. It doesn't have like specks of blue and pink glitter that they're talking about, but it's a very, very reflective shade. So, and Manny did mention that it's like a topper shade with a nude base, and I think this would come really, really close to it. The next shade in the palette is called Gold Dust, which is described as an antique gold shimmer. As per the swatches and as per Manny's swatches, I felt AB8's Jackie Aina palette shade, which is named as Dwellers, would be an exact dupe. It's a very antique gold kind of a shade, but with a little bit of hint of green in it. And that would be a dupe for Gold Dust. Now the next shade is called Desert Sky, which is described as a bronze shimmer. And I personally feel, as per the swatches, Double Life from Urban Decay's Born to Run palette would be a very, very close shade. And this would be the dupe for Desert Sky. The next shade in the palette is called Dusk, which is described as a matte peach shade. And I personally feel out of the whole collection, this would come the closest, and this would be Colourpop Single Shadow in IOU. And this would be the dupe for the shade called Dusk. The next shade in the palette is called Rose Thorn, which is described as a matte dusty rose. I personally feel Colourpop's Single Shadow in the shade Labyrinth or Raw Beauty Christie's and Colourpop palette in the shade Old Growth would be absolutely dupes for each other. So basically a matte rose shade. It appears to be a little more deeper in the swatches, and what comes into my mind is just to add a little bit of pinker to it, but I mean, it's a matte rose. If you have any matte rose in the collection, I think that would do its job. So this is how it looks mixed together. So I've taken Old Growth from Raw Beauty Christie palette and Pinker from AB8's Jackie Aina palette. So the next shade in the palette is called Sandstorm, which is described as a matte tawny brown, and the shade that comes into my mind is actually Riff from Urban Decay's Born to Run palette or Ginger from AB8's Jackie Aina palette. So you can take any one of them I'm taking ginger, and that is what I would dupe against Sandstorm. The next shade in the palette is called Summer Sky, which is described as a matte chestnut brown shade. So it's more of like a warmer brown shade. So the shade that comes into my mind is Edges from Jackie Aina palette. More of that warm tone chestnut brown. The next shade in the palette is called Earthbender, which is described as a matte chocolate brown. So this is the deepest shade, deepest brown in the palette, which I think would be a very, very close dupe to Credit from the AB8's Jackie Aina palette. A matte chocolatey brown shade. The next shade in the palette is called Starry Eyed, which is a gunmetal shimmer with holographic reflect glitter, which I think Y from the Magic Mini palette or Try Me from the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette would do the job. So that I think would be a perfect dupe for Starry Eyed. Now, the next shade in the palette is called Smoke, which is a matte deep gray. And it's not like any normal gray. It feels like it's like a blue gray, which is I don't think I have that shade in my palette. I have that shade in a different finish, which would be Rodeo from the Urban Decay's Born to Run palette, but it is more of like that satin shimmer. Not like shimmer, but like a satin finish. So it's not exactly a dupe because in Manny's palette it's a matte, but the shade is very, very similar. The next shade in the palette is called Deep Sea, which is a deep blue shimmer with blue reflect glitter, which I personally feel the shade called Lapis Luxury from Pat McGrath's Subversive palette, the mini Subversive palette, that would be an exact dupe. But if you guys do not own it, a Moment from a Dose of Colors Friendcation palette would be similar, but that has a purple glitter with the blue shade, and this has more of a blue glitter with blue shade. I think that's exactly what the shade is, and that would be like the best dupe for Deep Sea. Now the next shade in the palette is called Lagoon, which is a matte deep navy, which I feel is very, very close to Yehide from the Magic Mini palette. Another close one would be PNW, but that's a little more, let me see. So this is actually, I think that would go really well. I feel that's such a great color, man. I think this is such a good dupe for Lagoon from Manny's palette. So the last shade in the palette is called Night Sky, which is described as a matte black with multi-dimensional reflect glitter. Now I am going to take Jet from Urban Decay's Born to Run palette, which is more of a matte black. But I mean, if you want that glitter, I prefer a matte black over a glittery black shadow. But if you want the similar like shade, I would just Try Me on top of it, just to give that speck of silver glitter which is present in Manny's palette. So that would be the whole shade range and a dupe for Eternal Eclipse palette. Let me know how you feel about this dupe. If you do like it, if you think that I saved a little bit of money, please do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you are notified every time that I post next. I generally upload every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.